Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic installment of Above It All, the series in which I talk about politics while I am drunk. So it is New Hampshire primary day/evening, and this is the first story I'm going to talk about. I started drinking just because, if they cheated the election like they did last time, I want to be prepared. This is arm hour in defense. But this I did not expect. So I've said this from the get-go. Andrew Yang, I'm not a fan of Andrew Yang. I think he's a nice person. I think he's a nice guy. My whole thing is that if he quit the race before Super Tuesday, I wouldn't dislike him for the rest of time. And look what happens. He quit the race before Super Tuesday. Now, let me just state this. Again, I'm not a fan of the Yang. I'm not a fan of the Yang gang. I'm a Bernard sister. So, now, I think Yang gang people are really annoying for the most part. And it's possible that the only people that decide to talk online are the annoying people. For the most part, I have to tell you that almost every fake smear about Bernie fans, I think in a lot of ways does apply to Yang fans. Every time I make a video about Andrew Yang, now again, I'm very critical of Andrew Yang, very critical, but I get people calling me a tranny, I get people calling me disgusting, I get people telling me I'm stupid and uneducated. Now, I can't tell you I've never called someone uneducated, but at the same time, Yang gangers, more often than not, are very hateful. They don't like minorities, and that's because a lot of Yang gangers are libertarians and right-wingers that just want to get free meme money, and so I understand that I've been very critical of Yang people. I've had some very nice conversations with Yang people. Some people I know are Yang people. Now, that being said, if a Yang person is now looking, if they weren't an Iowan or a New Hampshireite, and they did not have the opportunity to vote for Andrew Yang, I highly recommend voting for Bernie Sanders. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. If you want to have a debate about the issues, let's debate. My one thing about Andrew Yang is I am a huge UBI proponent. Now, I love UBI. I think it's a great idea. My problem with Andrew Yang is that he has shoehorned UBI into his policy at the expense of other social welfare programs. And that's my issue with him, is that you can't talk about UBI as of him being a prominent person in the race online, right? And now you could not talk about UBI without having to waste at least half of the conversation talking about how Andrew Yang's UBI isn't the good UBI. Now that he's finally gone, right, and I just want to, this is live, so I'm going to report this, 29.63, Bernie Sanders 27, Pete Buttcheek 22. But now that Andrew Yang is gone, now we can go back to talking about UBI. And that's what I'm excited for, because I like UBI. But the Yang gang, who's been obsessive over UBI, and I get it, it's super attractive. $1,000 a month unconditionally is super attractive to people that don't have to worry about where they're going to sleep next week. To people that don't have to worry about if their car is going to work next week. Those people I can understand why you'd be so attracted to $1,000 a month. And again, I'm not trying to be offensive here. I'm just saying facts. If you have a disagreement, feel free to let me know. But now we can go, my favorite part about this is, again, now we can talk about UBI. And my whole thing is that I think Bernie Sanders is more open to a UBI than Andrew Yang is open to a housing guarantee. That's my thing. That's what I've said to a lot of people. It's not like November 2020 is the end of our lives. We vote, the election happens, and then the very next day, everyone just, the programming is over and, the simulation stops. You know what I mean? We can continue to advocate for policies after Bernie's president. So the whole thing was well, we need Andrew Yang now, otherwise we'll never get UBI. It's really been bizarre. And again, I'm a little drunk right now, so I'm probably repeating myself and not sounding too coherent. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video tomorrow. It's possible. It's probable. And again, I'm always open to debate. I've had this thing at the top of my my video over there at that corner. If you disagree, you can debate me on Discord. Andrea #0 462 is my user. I love debating people. I haven't actually had someone who's willing to record themselves debating me yet. But again, if you debate me and you consent, I'll put the video up. So like, let me refresh the New Hampshire primary. 30.30%. Bernie still with a pretty good lead. I'm upset that Pete Buttigieg is actually so close behind Bernard. I was expecting better of New Hampshire, but the recent shenanigans have fucked everything up. Amy Klobuchar coming with a strong third, and I mean that unironically. Wow, that's incredible. Elizabeth Warren in a neighboring state with 10%, she needs to drop out. She needs to follow Andrea Yang's lead. Joe Biden, honestly, that's a train wreck. Yeah, again, Andrew Yang as a person, maybe he's not that bad. His policy platform has made talking about progressive UBI really difficult, and now that we're moving forward, again, you can, if you like Andrew Yang and if you culturally identify with him in a lot of ways, that's fine. Like, you know, that's perfectly fine. But just realize that there are better forms of UBI out there, and now what you should do is if you think a UBI is a good policy, you should work to elect Bernie Sanders and work to get him to have a UBI division. Maybe have Andrew Yang in part of his cabinet or something. That's what you should work toward. Because do you really think Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar are going to be amenable to a UBI? Come on. Come on. You got to be honest with yourselves. You got to get serious. There are billions of people that depend on this election, right? Like, that's my whole thing. There are billions of people that depend on this election. So you got to think of all those billions of people when you get to vote. And yeah, so that's all I have to say. Again, if anyone wants to have a conversation, I'll reply to all comments. I don't reply to all comments, but I read all comments, and I probably will reply to yours if you're a Yanganger. So thank you for watching. Have a good night. And let me check again New Hampshire results. Oof. 30.64. Let me refresh in case. Okay. Whew. You can join my Discord. If you're watching this immediately as soon as I post it, you can join my Discord. It's on my website, which is speed.dog. That's my website, no .com, just speed.dog. And you can find my Discord right here. So, goodbye.